refer. And those are the only agendas.
Great, thank you. In light of how much we have here, I'm going to keep us moving expeditiously so that we can get out at a reasonable hour. So we're going to start with public comment. As a reminder, public comment limits comment to 3 minutes, should be pertinent to the items on the agenda. If you're interested in making a comment, please raise your digital hand and we will unmute you. Okay, seeing none, we will move with the presentation and discussion items. Item A is Nature's Classroom field trip approval. And here to present that is Susan Duncan. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
So this will be our 18th year wanting to go to Nature's Class. Well, I guess 16 because we missed 2 years. But we want to go back this year to Ocean Park, Maine, June 10th through the 12th. The program fee, it went up a little bit from last year, but not too much, was $329 per student. And right now, with the bus, it's like $410, but we always ask for other funding for the transportation that we've gotten in the past. We just don't know yet. We've already started a fundraiser for it with selling popcorn, where the kids can raise 50% of their proceeds from the popcorn go to the field trip. And many kids can raise and have in the past raised the whole amount to go on the field trip. And then we also raise some money within that fundraiser for kids that might need some additional help. So does anybody have any questions about the field trip? It's a hands-on learning experience that's cross-curricular, that they not only learn about some of the different standards that we teach at Hopkins, but also how to connect with each other and team building, communication, learning about other cultures. So it has a lot packed into 3 days and 2 nights. So does anybody have any questions about Nature's Classroom?
Well, Ms. Duncan, I want to say that Nature's Classroom is such a cherished tradition for our 7th graders. Year after year, just rave reviews and just such a great learning experience. I'm a big fan, and thank you for resuming it and also bringing us to Ocean Park, Maryland. It's a beautiful area. I haven't heard of that trip versus the one in Maine, is it?
No, this is Maine. It's Ocean Park, Maine.
Ocean Park, Maine.
Yeah, it's Maine. It's about 2.5 to 3 hours away, depending on traffic. I think last year we got stuck a little bit in traffic. It took us like a little over 3, but normally it can take 2.5.
Excellent. Excellent. Do I hear any questions from Ethan or Tara on this?
No questions over here.
Okay, seeing no questions, do I hear a motion to approve the Nature's Classroom field trip as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Duncan.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving to, let's see, we are moving to item D, the letter of support for the bills related to MCAS. And this is a very brief letter. I took the action item last month, given unanimous school committee support for the Thrive Act, to draft a very short letter enthusiastically in support of the Thrive Act. So if you click on that link, then you will see that letter. Ethan or Tara, do you have any suggestions or modifications to this letter?
I don't.
I don't either, Humira. Thank you for doing this, though.
You're very welcome. If there are no other discussion items with respect to this, do I hear a motion to approve this letter?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. Thank you. I will ask Annie to put it on letterhead and we'll go ahead and send that off. All right, moving next to item E, second reading of JLCG, which is the Hadley Public Schools allergy policy. Ethan.
Yeah, we had this, the first reading last time. This is the second reading. This is where we'll vote. This is our, again, correct me if I'm wrong, Andy, this is our first ever true policy and protocols for food allergies. We've obviously had protocols in the past, but this is kind of aligning a policy that we'll have moving forward, that the nurses took care to put together, and I think does a good job of explaining everything that's going to happen moving forward with regards to food allergies.
Yes, and just to underscore again, as Ethan said, the nurses have always had practices. Thank goodness for our nurses, one of whom is on the call now, Robin. But for both Robin and Gail, for saying we should also have a policy in place. So now we do have a food allergy policy. Legal has also reviewed it. You still see those comments from legal, but the content is all fine.
Excellent. I did a review earlier this week, and it's pretty exhaustive, and I think it looks pretty great. Any questions from anyone else? Tara, in particular, do you have any questions or thoughts about this policy?
I don't have any questions about it. Thank you guys for putting this together and the suggestion from the nurses. I think it's a great thing to have in place, especially now where we're seeing just so many allergies in so many different areas in kids and adults. So thank you guys.
Indeed, thank you to the nurses and the policy committee for reviewing this and putting it forward. Joyce, you have a question?
Just a quick one. What is your accessibility? Because I didn't really get a chance to read the policy, but your accessibility to EpiPens and the cost of EpiPens, since that was a big question out there, probably last year or so. Are we being supplied through the state or whatever for the EpiPens?
I'd
Well,
love to call on
My
our nurse.
nickname now for Robin is Gift from God. Thank goodness she's on the call. Robin.
Thank you.
Hi. Yes, so we are gifted EpiPens from the state. Yes. So my health office at Hopkins has 2, Gale's has 2, but also we require children who have known allergies with anaphylaxis to come in and bring in their own EpiPen as well. So we're well covered. Yeah, we're well covered. And you're right, into the possibility of seeing students with an allergy that they were unaware of, and that's really what our stock EpiPens are for. And we also, at Hopkins, most of our kids are self-carriers, so they're allowed to carry their own EpiPen. So, you know, if they were to forget to bring their EpiPen to school, you know, something like that, the health offices always have EpiPens. So yes, and those are free from the state.
Okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You bet.
Thank you. Seeing no other comments or questions, do I hear a motion to approve this policy, JLCG, as defined?
So move.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Thanks.
Aye. All right. Motion passes. Thank you, Nurse Robin. And
Really huge thanks to Gail. Honestly, she really she really is the one that really put this together. So you can't take any credit for this. But I did want to be here tonight to listen in, and she's a fabulous leader. So
thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you also to Nurse Gail.
Yes, and thank you for being here, because I couldn't answer the question that was asked. So phew, thanks.
Thank you.
Excellent. All right. We're going to keep on moving to item F, updated capital plan. Chris.
Good evening. So Anne sent via email an Excel version of the capital plan, which is considerably easier to read than the PDF that's included in the meeting package. It's a very wide report, so it kind of got squeezed to a smaller font size. But if you review the Excel version of the file, basically what we've done is we've moved anything that was unable to be finished last year into this year. The notes are on the right-hand column to basically say, moved from FY 23 to 24. A couple of the items got aligned a little bit with the HVAC project. We're obviously, anything that has something to do with that, we moved forward into the next couple of years just because we're not going to be doing that project until then. So there's no point in having those particular items say last year or this year. So what we just look for from the school committee is to just approve the updated version of this plan.
Okay, and those are primarily the ones that are moved from fiscal year 20 from fiscal year 23, or the ones that just say moved in column Z.
Moved in column Z. Yes.
Okay. Any questions for Chris on this? They seem like fairly minor items.
Yeah, one of the tricky things with this really is getting contractors to do the work. That's what puts the delay in a lot of these things.
It's hard all around.
It is.
Especially now. It's very hard now.
Especially. All right, so seeing no other questions or comments, do I hear a motion to approve the updated capital schedule?
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move next to item G, school choice revenue and expense projections.
Actually, Humira, that's not an action
Oh,
item.
it's not an action item.
H. Yes, we're going to go to H, if that's okay.
Yes, and that's you, Annie, on the district.
There I am. Ta-da. So the district strategy presentation, the school committee, of course, knows that, but some of the public may not, although it was a public meeting and recorded. The school committee got together in person in August to review our strategic document, which is typically a 5-year document. We're entering into the last year of this, and to talk about what priorities we wanted to focus on this year. I do want to remind the public that the school committee has put a very high priority in ensuring that every single member of our community, our students, our faculty, that people experience a sense of belonging and a sense of connection when they attend Hadley Public Schools. The priorities, so the first half of the document should look very familiar to you because, again, we've been working on these things, these broader goals for the last 5 years. So if we go to page 2 of the document, you can see some of the priorities under each one of the standards. So we are looking to ensure that we are fully implementing practices that will foster belonging, such as restorative justice, responsive classroom. We are also looking to ensure that our instructional practices and our content aligns with what is expected, what we want to make sure students have in terms of competency, knowledge, and skills to be successful academically, successful in the future. So you'll see that we are focused on the science of reading at Hadley Elementary School. We have spent the last 5 years trying to expand options for students at Hopkins Academy in terms of early college opportunities, innovation pathways, and career and technical education. So we're always looking to increase enrollment. We're looking to expand those pathways. We'll be submitting 2 additional proposals for pathways this year. We're working on a public safety academy that'll be a shared endeavor with Hatfield Public Schools and Granby Public Schools. And we are looking this year to identify internship opportunities in the trades and technical fields for Hopkins Academy students. I'm pleased to report that we have some local businesses who are aware of all of the internships we put together last year and indicated that they would be interested in having student interns. And again, these are more technical and trade businesses and enterprises. We want to expand technology and service learning. You can see some of the very specific things we'll be focusing on this year. Our Computer Science Engage grant, So looking at our opportunities in computer science, aligning our courses to the digital literacy frameworks, and then looking at where we want to expand those opportunities. We'll be submitting a proposal to expand our project Lead the Way. If you recall, Hadley Elementary was recognized as a project Lead the Way, kind of a model school. So we'll be looking to expand Project Lead the Way and provide more opportunities and more courses. And we're always looking to expand opportunities for students to learn about other cultures and world languages. Our priorities this year in management and operations, we're already ahead in this goal. Again, 5 years ago, we had hoped to have multiple tiered systems of support and universal screening in math and literacy and social emotional learning. Actually, when we first wrote this, we just had it as math and literacy in grades K through 8. We are on target to make sure that universal screening and progress monitoring and multi-tiered systems of support in math and reading and social emotional learning are available in grades K through 12. And of course, we want to continue to expand our practices in inclusion, diversity, dialogue, equity, and belonging. And so, as I said, that means ensuring that we're implementing restorative justice, responsive classroom, and positive behavioral interventions and supports. Around family and community engagement, we are this year, we'll be working with parents around social media awareness and cell phone use. We'll be inviting parents to participate in a grant team, and we will host events to educate families to help them to help their children use social media responsibly. I really want to give a shout out and recognition to Principal Dowd, who has already had an event at Hadley Elementary School and invited in Officer Yusko, had parents come in, also had the event recorded so parents who were not able to make it could see it later. And Officer Yusko talked with elementary parents about responsible social media and cell phone use. We will be engaging with families. Jen Dowd has already started this work with Tara. Tara will be talking about it later. And engaging with families and parent groups to renovate our HES playground with a focus on how to make the space a space where everybody feels as though they can access the playground, that they belong, that it is a place that they can use, and that it was created with every single student in mind. And of course, we'll be collaborating with our community partners to secure funding for our locker renovation project, to complete phase 2 of the fields, and to complete the engineering design and TA report for our deep energy retrofit. We will continue to seek staff input on various initiatives through surveys and focus groups. We are always trying to expand opportunities for teacher leadership. We have building level PBIS teams, building level leadership teams, safe and supportive school teams. We're always looking to expand those opportunities. And of course, we want to provide high quality professional development. This year, Hadley Elementary faculty and staff or teachers have the opportunity to earn 30 professional development points in the science of reading. Every Hopkins Academy educator and ESP at Hopkins Academy will receive a minimum of Tier 1 training in restorative justice. All of our faculty and staff are receiving training in culturally responsive pedagogy. Our Hopkins Academy educators have monthly professional development in social emotional learning and positive behavior interventions and supports. And we have provided our faculty and staff with intensive training in fostering safe and supportive learning environments for LGBTQ+ students, and the leadership team had a special intensive training. Based on the feedback I received from the school committee, those are the priorities that I present to you, and certainly I am happy to amend anything if you would like it amended.
Thank you, Annie. This is an exhaustive list, so much to do. Thank you, and so much to you've already done on a lot of these different items. Any questions or comments for Annie?
None for me.
Okay.
I don't have any questions, but just again, the same, we meet, we have this list of things that we want to accomplish, and administration goes and makes it come to life. So again, thank you for putting this list together, and thank you for taking action.
Me too.
Indeed. Annie, I do have a question about the panorama survey. If I recall correctly, we intend to do that annually to keep our pulse on that. Is that something that should be included under family and community engagement?
So one thing I wanted to ask the school committee about, I spoke with Sarah and also, well, mostly with Sarah about this. We talked about, as a next step, having, perhaps with the assistance of CES, running some smaller focus groups. I'm looking at you, Humera, because also this was one of the sessions we went to at MASS, MASC, the conference we just went to. So both April Camuso and Sarah Jabber are in a training with the Collaborative for Educational Services on how to do meaningful equity audits. And they've stressed that while it can be useful to look at survey data here and potentially an unlike cohort of survey data here, they've talked about really an important next step would be to do some smaller focus groups, so that I have a bullet in there that talks about focus groups. It isn't just limited to whether it's building projects, but I should have been clearer around that. It's intentional follow-up on the themes that emerged from Panorama to get people speaking with us directly. Does that make sense? So some of this of trying to get what is frequently referred to as from the book, street data, listening to people and talking with people,
Right.
in addition to quantitative data.
Yes, that makes sense. So the idea would be to not have an annual panorama survey, but rather maybe resume that in another year.
It could be that we're looking at doing a quantitative survey again this year, but in the spring, just making sure we have conversations in between. I also want you to know that UMass is helping us. The equity dashboard will come back in front of the school committee. UMass is helping us look at that equity dashboard. One, just to make sure that it's user-friendly, it's easy to read, helping us to determine when we can, not that we would disregard any kind of feedback, but when we can, when something.
It's 6 o'clock.
Is that me?
No, it's me. It's
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my
tells
God.
me on the hour.
So when we can say that something has statistical significance, when we can say that a particular group might be X many times more or less likely to achieve an outcome, UMass is working on that. UMass also has a recommendation of a number of surveys that are free of charge and that they would recommend for family and community engagement. So we're not saying we're not going to do an annual survey. We may, I will be presenting to you some of the recommendations from UMass and why as to what survey we may want to use. And before we administer the next quantitative survey, we would want to get some conversations going with people to see how they're experiencing the changes that we've made in response to the themes that we discovered the last time.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to learning more and seeing the results of that. I'm also really pleased to hear about the technical vocational internships. I think that's a great next step to engaging with the community, whom I've heard from fairly regularly about providing those opportunities to our students, maybe looking at chapter 70, I think it is, chapter 70 kinds of, is it chapter 70? 72, chapter 72 types of 74,
Yes.
74 chapter 74 type programming that would give Hopkins Academy students exposure to and the ability to earn educational experiences towards the trades without having to leave the school and go to a new vocational school. And so that's a great next step. Thank you for that.
No problem.
Right, we need to vote on this. Do I hear a motion to approve the district strategy 2023-2024 priorities.
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Annie, given that we're about to embark on the 5th year of this tool, it might make sense to look holistically at what a next generation district strategy document and ways to analyze our ecosystem might look like. So I look forward to talking with you further about that, and maybe we can put that on a future agenda item or have that as part of our retreat, but something that allows us to build from here to a next generation tool.
Absolutely.
Great. All right, we're going to move next to the
Let's just do the action items if that's okay.
Items.
So what's
item
remaining?
A, approval of school committee minutes. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so, Janara, I should have said this. You did 6B. 6C is not required. When I get to superintendent's report, we can explain why we'll be using ESSER funds for that. We don't need 6C.
Okay, so we're going to move next to the school committee updates so that Tara can, we can get Tara's report. I know that cell phone coverage might be precarious. So Tara, can you tell us about the playgrounds project and the CES update?
Yes, so I'll start with CES because it's really quick. The next meeting will be in January. We didn't meet in December. We didn't meet in November, so updating date next for CES. As far as the playground project, there have been a few groups that have gotten together and discussed about what the best strategy is for moving the project forward. So we've created a fundraising committee, and I'm assisting in the creation of this fundraising committee. And we sent out a survey 2 weeks ago, I think, to parents in HES, asking if anybody would be interested in partaking in this type of committee. We got, I think, without looking, we got about 10 responses, and then another 4 people that were part of either PTO or the Friends of Hadley Preschool group that would like to partake. So about 14 or 15 people that are interested in really spearheading this fundraising committee. And we're going to meet for the first time on December 6th. And we are going to talk about the process that needs to take place in order to get this playground underway. And then find out what people's strengths are, where they might be interested in taking on a role. So if somebody has experience in grant writing, then that person might help figure out what grants we might be able to get. And those could go through either, through PTO or Friends of Hadley Preschool or whatnot, seeking donations or any other fundraising ideas, reaching out to local businesses, requesting donations and tapping into other community groups that might be willing to donate either an item or a monetary amount to the school, as many groups in town have done, many organizations in town have done in the past for the school for various other projects. So I'm honestly excited about the response rate. I think that was a really decent response rate to get from this fundraising group. And so when we meet again in December, we'll have an update on that fundraising committee and how things are going and looking.
Great, Tara. What a wonderful show of community support for this project. That's excellent to have 14 people sign up to participate. And thank you for that update. Any questions for Tara? Okay, great. Thank you, Tara, and thank you for patching in while driving. Really appreciate it. And so
Thank
now,
you for accommodating. I'll stay on as long as I don't lose service.
that sounds great. So we're going to go back to the start and presentation discussion item B is annual goals and priorities. We have the Director of Student Services, Celia Snow, here. Welcome, Celia.
Hi, thank you for having me. All right, so everybody has access to the document, is my understanding. And then I just wanted to say, so I took like for this next phase, I developed a new 2-year plan. I changed the format that I've been using more to align with what others are doing. And it also aligns with district administrators rubric and the other strategic action plans for the district. But my goal remains the same, to align the student services with the strategic action plans of the school buildings and the district as a whole. And I really want special education services to be a part of the multi-tiered system of supports. So collaboration is essential. All students really should have access to Tier 1 classroom instruction as much as possible. So we are now not only using the universal screenings to determine if more support is needed for students, but we are also using it to evaluate how we provide Tier 3 services to ensure we are educating students in the least restrictive environment. So this is a newer process this year and not something I have seen done in other districts. This aligns with Strategic Priority 1AB, which ensures that all students, regardless of their disability or level of need, are challenged and supported to learn and grow. So even with specialized instruction curriculums, it should still be evidence-based and aligned with state standards. And just like an example of that, in collaboration with Michelle Witowitz, when we're doing the universal screens, if she's seeing that a student who's on an IEP who maybe has all pull-out instruction for reading, but is at the benchmark for reading, so we can reevaluate whether that's the least restrictive, pulling the student out. And it's not a IEP, we're not making a determination of services necessarily, but it's just something that we're looking at together. So trying to be more collaborative across the tiers. For a strategic priority 2, I have arranged safety care training so that we now have in-house trainers, and providing additional training so that we have an adequate number of trained staff in both schools to support students with behavior challenges, whether the student is on an IEP or not. In addition, I will be surveying teachers and ESPs this year to gain an understanding of the skills they feel ESPs need to work with the students they are assigned to work with, as well as what PD opportunities they feel would be most beneficial. With the goal being to develop a professional development plan for ESPs that is designed around the work that they are doing. So more recently, over the past couple of years, we've started inviting ESPs to participate in our PD days, but not necessarily having anything, specifically designed for them to do based on the work that they do or the students that they work with. In terms of community relations, I continue to meet with the special education staff at the elementary school on a regular basis and have monthly clinical supervision with the district behavioral health staff. And I've also increased collaboration with Hertzbrook to provide support to eligible students that attend school there. So that's kind of a pretty quick summary. I'm going to see if anybody has any questions, comments.
That was a great summary, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I really appreciate hearing the progress we're making around the new collaborative approaches to determining what's best for the students' level. That's pretty great. As well as the professional development more finely tailored to ESPs. That sounds really, really terrific. At this time, and I realize that Michelle Witowitz is also here. I don't know if this is related to Michelle's work as well, but welcome. Any questions, Tara and Ethan, for the team on the Student Services Strategic Action Plan?
I don't have any questions. I'm just really happy to see the amount of time and dedication, because when we met this summer at the retreat, this really aligns well with this whole culture of belonging, right? Because these students are part of our community, and so we want to make sure that they feel part of the community and are are engaged as much as possible. So I appreciate the eyes on this, and I appreciate the reevaluations continuously, not just from you, Celia, which I'm very thankful for, but from Michelle, from ESPs, really just the collaboration amongst administration and staff as a whole. It's just really nice to see this a priority. So thank you.
Yeah, I would just echo what Tara said and what you said too, Humira. Just no questions, but really appreciative of the work that you guys are doing.
Great, thank you.
Don't need to vote on this. Before you hop off, Celia, I just want to say to the public and to the entire committee, and I know you're an incredibly humble person, Celia, we are so fortunate. Celia is brilliant. She is skilled and she is knowledgeable, and she has an unparalleled skill at working effectively with families and with advocates. We really hit the lottery here. I just want the public to know that and the school committee to know that. Thank you, Celia, not just for the plan, but for everything that you do.
All right, thanks, Annie. You're incredibly embarrassing me, but thank you. All right, I'll be here in the background, but I am going to turn off my camera and my volume. So thanks everybody for having me.
Thank you. All right, as Annie mentioned, we don't have to vote on this. We are going to move next to the presentation by Hopkins Academy on Hopkins Academy social academic behavior screening data. And for that, we have Michelle Woodrow is here. Welcome, Michelle.
Hi, thanks for having me. Are you able to hear okay?
Yes.
I was just having a little bit of issue coming off of mute and then getting interesting message. So yes, I am here. You heard Annie in her strategic doc talk a little bit about the social emotional screening and the multi-tiered systems of support and some of the work we do. And this is all connected as well to that sense of belonging that I discussed with you back in August as well. I have some slides here. If you're able to follow along, I'll talk to each of those. If not, no worries. But the first couple of slides are some visuals to just remind what the overall goal is when we do a universal screening. So universal screening is a...
Michelle, I'm wondering, should I share my screen while you speak?
Sure, if you'd like to.
Okay, let's do that. I think it might be nice for people to see this excellent presentation.
I would echo that, because also I asked when Michelle shared this presentation with me, I asked her to share it with the school committee because the impact is really just amazing. So thank you, Humira, for doing that.
Absolutely. All right.
Thank you. So if you go, so this is specific to Hopkins and this is the mental health screening data. And what we use here is the assessment is called SAVERS, which stands for Social, Academic, Emotional, and Behavior Rating Scales. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in later slides. I first want to review slide 2 quickly to show you what the overall goal is of an effective MTSS system. So these triangles that you're looking at in the pyramid can apply to any academic or social emotional area. The goal is to have 80% or more of your students in what we consider to be a low risk. There's no such thing as a no risk area, but a low risk area. The yellow is considered some risk. Ideally, a system that's functioning well, you have somewhere between 5 and 15% of students there. And then your tier 3 students are at risk. They may be in need of more intensive support. You want anywhere between 1 and 5% of students falling into that category there. The triangle on the left is pretty straightforward with the percentages that you're trying to achieve. What I like about the layers is you heard Director Snow talk a few moments ago about having all students having access to that tier 1. When a system works well, all students receive all supports, and anything that a student might need if they're coming up some risk or at risk is in addition to what all students are already receiving. So you see that yellow and red support. Again, these students who might need a little bit more, it's not that it's something different than the other students are getting. It's in addition to what students are already receiving. Any questions about what we're looking at there? Okay, yeah, you can go ahead to the third slide. Thank you. This third slide here, as MTSS has gone on, so we've had it in the district since 2016. Our knowledge, not just locally, but across the state and nationally, has expanded, and therefore we have some new updated images as well. What I really like about this one is you see that the triangle of green, yellow, and red is built on that strong culture. You see right at the bottom, culturally responsive teaching, that you have a growth mindset. You have all students written there in bold and underline, and then that culture of collaboration, which again, you heard Dr. McKenzie and Director Snow touch on in their presentations earlier as well. So when you have all of these components, which I do very much believe we do in Hadley, then you're able to achieve that pretty green, yellow, and red triangle with the percentages that you saw on the previous slide. And I should mention one more thing before we get into the data, and that is this is still relatively new for the mental health screening. I would say we're a little bit ahead of the game with having this practice. And I would also like to add that this can be a difficult age group, middle and high school, too. With this, we know that emotions and hormones can be a bit all over the place. But I'm excited now to get into that next slide and share with you the hard work has paid off. You'll see on slide 4 on the left, so this is students rating themselves. If you click on mental health screening at the top, it's underlined there. That is actually a link to the student statement. So this only takes about 5 minutes for students to complete. There are 20 statements that they read, and then they rate themselves, almost always, sometimes, never, and I'm forgetting one right off the top of my head. Sorry about that. Often. So it's a 4 scale there. They rate themselves. Teachers rate the students on the same. How we use it here, and the recommendation that we get from the state, is that the students' ratings is our primary data point. The teacher rating is a secondary data point. You'll see on the left, we had 93% participation. That's hard to get 100% of high school students, but this is an increase from last year. So we're pleased about that. And we do have 100% all teachers turned in ratings for their students. And what you see in many cases, we are at or near that mark of hitting 80% of students in low risk. What's especially pleasing is that there is very little red on those graphs. The advice, the recommendations the state gives us is students who fall in the red, we want to make sure we're layering in those supports. So they're getting a double dose of something, they're getting support from a counselor, perhaps they're getting some sort of wraparound service. If they're in the yellow, the advice is actually to remain on our radar and continue some sort of check-in, or like we're doing universal screening. We do that 3 times a year. However, again, I'm proud to say that at Hadley we have the capacity to offer many of our students who fell somewhere in the yellow are receiving some sort of support. So that's been really really nice to be able to offer to them, that we're going sort of above and beyond the recommendations. If you go to slide 5. Here we go. Sorry. Here is the growth from last year to this year. So on the left, you are looking at the student ratings for last fall. On the right, you're looking at the student ratings for this fall. And below it has the numbers all laid out for you. You'll see that we have an increase in 8% participation. We have a decrease of students in the red by almost 5%, and an increase of students in the green, so students low risk, of 4% there. Similarly, on slide 6, you'll see the growth from last fall to this year for the teacher ratings. So in other words, not only are we seeing that students themselves are reported having improved mental health, the teachers are reporting that overall as well. And in connection to the mental health screening data is also our discipline data. And here you'll see last year compared to this year. So right around Halloween, which is about the end of term 1. So both years right around Halloween, we looked at the first 45 days of the school year. Last year at that time, there were 221 referrals. This year, there are 108 referrals. So our referrals were cut in half, a little bit more than half. You will hear reports of staff and faculty at Hopkins saying they can feel improvements in the hallways, in the cafeteria, in their classrooms. And then when we break down that data further to what the offenses are, the majority of our offenses fell in refusal to follow adult directive, unauthorized area, or rude or disruptive behavior, which if you were to sort of categorize misbehaviors into major offenses or minor offenses, these are considered minor. We didn't have loads of bias or violent or not big hefty things. Thankfully, the majority of the referrals, there were a lot less, and the majority were in a more minor category, if that's what you want to call it. And then the last 2 slides just revisit the efforts that we've made to get here. You heard about that sense of belonging. We've put a large emphasis on healthy and positive relationships across the district, especially at Hopkins this past year, and that's all types of relationships. Staff to students, students to students, staff to staff, staff to parents. You heard Dr. McKenzie talk about SEL monthly PD sessions last year and this year at Hopkins. I didn't have so much to do with this, but the schedule changes. We are no longer doing or at least not this year, not doing the waterfall schedule. They have more of the block schedule and longer. Certainly that can be a contributor to this. Absolutely the consistency, I think, overall, both students and teachers are reporting currently that they are liking the more consistent schedule at this point in time. We have done some work in supervision in the cafe and in the hallways. So we've increased our presence and the types of players that are there, the relationships those staff members have. And we've required the use of hallway passes for a variety of different, whatever the reason may be that a student needs to leave the classroom, whether it's a counselor, room drink. We have distinct hallway passes for each of those. And then the last slide talks a little bit about, again, you heard Dr. McKenzie say earlier, the advisory curriculum work, which includes the restorative justice practices that all staff at HA are now trained in, at least have that tier 1 training. Many have tier 2. Many more will have tier 2 at this time next month, and some will even have tier 3 by the end of the year. And then a lot of efforts for proactive and positive parent communication. Staff sent out introductory and welcome emails that included their syllabi at the start of the year. Ms. Camuso is diligent about sending weekly emails. Students and parents are receiving those. We intentionally implemented action steps when misbehavior occurs that incorporate involving parents in those, and all students received report card comments on their first quarter report cards just last week.
I'll just add something on the report card comments. We intentionally, Ms. Camuso intentionally changed those, that a report card comment is limited to positive comments. That if there's any kind of concern that we wouldn't, that's a conversation we would have with a parent. And so what you're reading is where students are doing well in terms of comments. So those were all changed.
Nice.
Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Well, let me just stop sharing my screen. Thank you so much for the presentation. As a parent, I can say that I truly love the emails that I'm getting from educators and the weekly communication from the principal. It's a wonderful thing, and just in general, terrific job on working on culture, which is so hard to do, but clearly the data shows that whatever you're doing early days, of course, it's going in the positive direction. So thank you for that. I'd love to invite Ethan and Tara to also share thoughts or comments.
I have a comment and a question. So I agree. I was really excited to hear there, just as Humira stated, the communication piece with parents. I feel like that's important, especially for parents that are transitioning with their children from the elementary to school to the high school. Because I feel like there is a lot of communication, right, when kids are younger in the elementary school. So I think that piece helps parents feel as though they know what's going on and feel a little more connected and involved. So that's really great to hear. And I am really excited. I was not looking at your slides. We're on the highway right now, so I wasn't looking at your slides while you were going through the presentation, but I was just listening to everything you're stating, and I'm really pleased to hear of the improvements in our students' mindsets and the decreased number of referrals. That's just fantastic to hear that both students and teachers are feeling a good sense of improvement in their quality of life at school, and that they're also aligned. I think that's really cool to see. So I was really glad to see that. And then the only question that I had is point in this process, and I'm sorry if it was in your slide and I missed it, but at what point in this process do we pull the parents into conversation?
No, I didn't address that. So thank you for asking. Parents are called in here essentially if a counselor gets involved. So for sure, if they fall into that at-risk category, they're notified. But if a student, because we have the capacity and have had the capacity to get counselors involved with students in some risk, if it is a new, and this is not, a student who has had a relationship with a counselor before or a need to see the counselor, they're contacted that way. And then if they're already working with a counselor, this may be something that the counselor just shares in their communication with the parent.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I
And
really
then-
like the open line. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I know this is specific to Hopkins. Similarly, at the elementary school, all teachers have access to this data. And again, if there was a concern that popped up, teachers had this with them and shared those at the parent-teacher conferences at the end of October. And then I always offer myself available to, or a teacher can let a parent know that they're able to contact me if they have any specific questions too. So there are a handful of parents that I've gone over rating scales with as well.
That's great. That's fantastic to hear. I really like the open line of communication with parents too, to keep them involved, and to be able to carry on and learn, a little bit about how they can assist at home with their kid and make sure that it carries back into school again. Thank you. I appreciate the presentation.
Thanks, Tara.
Question mark.
No questions here. Again, really appreciative. As someone who also works in a high school, when I read that slide of many efforts made, I'm really appreciative of all the ways that there's buy-in from all of the members of the community. When you have teachers in the hallway, when you have them in the cafe, when you're thinking about ways to make a school more inclusive, I think the kids recognize it. I think the adults recognize it, and I think it leads to just a better overall experience for everyone.
Yeah, thank you. You reminded me of the concept that we essentially tried to focus on, which hopefully you saw in the bar graphs, was this idea of grow the green, that you see the yellow and the red, that it's not just pushing those kids out of the classroom or getting them seeing the counselor more, that the idea is that we give all students a little bit more, and that helps grow and increase the likelihood of learning outcomes. Thank you.
This is excellent. Thank you, Michelle. Just so pleased to hear this report, and we look forward to hearing more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, school committee. This position was an excellent investment, and really appreciative of it. Thank you, Michelle. You can see it in the data. You can see it in the impact. So thanks.
Indeed. Thank you. All right. We're going to move next to item G, school choice revenue and expense projections. Chris.
Okay, again, this was in your meeting packages. Just trying to open it up here. So basically what this is just showing you is a kind of a breakdown of the school choice balance and what it's expected to look like over the next couple of years. We started the year at $2.1 million. We budgeted a little over $900,000 to be used. We're expecting to get $630,000 in, and then we have some expenses planned from it beyond the budget. So the capital plan had a number of items that were expected to be spent with school choice money. So that's the $155,000 you see on the report. That does not include the money for the deep energy retrofit planning. That we're looking to use ESSER funds to pay for. So hopefully that will just help keep the balance of the school choice up a little bit. We've also allocated $200,000 just for contingency in the capital projects. That basically is the locker room project that we potentially have coming up, and also for the athletic fields. We did allocate $100,000 for the HES playgrounds. I mean, that's kind of just an estimate, obviously, at this point in time, leaving us with about $1.3 or so million at the end of this year. And then you can see on the capital plan anticipated expenses and revenues for next year as well. The end result of this is that we expect the fund balance to be around $465,000 at the end of FY25. By policy, we need to keep a balance of about $395,000. So you can see that this will be keeping us at or above that policy minimum. I don't know if anyone has any questions on this.
I have a quick question. First of all, thank you so much. This is great to wrap our heads around what we, the kinds of projects that are going to our school committee budget, school choice budget will be able to fund. It helps us not go to the town for every little capital thing. So I'm really pleased that we are knocking off some of those items off of our list using our school choice budget. I have a question about anticipated revenue of fiscal year 24 in comparison to 25. It's not a huge decrease, but it is a decrease. And I'm wondering, are we expecting a decrease due to population size, or is there something that tells us that we might see lower numbers?
No, basically when we do this, we're very conservative with our estimates for revenues because we don't want to assume we're going to see a humongous increase and then, be obviously disappointed with something lower. So what we do when we look at the revenues is we take out the seniors that are graduating and obviously will not be attending Hadley Public Schools anymore. And so we took them out of FY24, then we took them out of FY25. The difference between the two is that FY24, we knew which freshmen were coming into the district, so we added those in. We don't have any numbers for freshmen incoming or I'm sorry, not just freshmen, excuse me, for all of the students incoming in FY25 yet. So we did not include any additional students coming in.
If- Just add to that, Chris, also because Chris and I, we do this like right now. So to his point, not just freshmen, in real time, we know we have 124, 26. You have that. We know how many students we have right now. And then we just back out the seniors, right? So in the current year, you have the advantage of knowing who's actually in front of you. And then when we estimate going forward, like Chris said, he just backs out the graduating class. And then we adjust when the kids are here.
Okay, very good. Joyce?
Has any of this taken into consideration the guests that we have now acquired in the town? Has this had an impact, or has any of that? You've been very gracious in everything that you've been doing. I commend Dr. McKenzie for all that she's done in heading out this emergency command thing that we have going on. But have we incurred anything, or is there anything that we need to do as a town to help you?
We are tracking the expenses, additional expenses such as transportation and items like that. Looking to be reimbursed for them by the state. We also get a certain amount of money per student per day as well to offset those costs. So I can't speak for the district, obviously, if there's anything that could be done. But Anne, would you like to jump in? Is there anything?
No, you're exactly right. So fortunately for the schools, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education did stand up 2 grant programs. So we have grant programs. We did have to hire a part-time English as a second language teacher, but the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is providing grant funding to cover that. And then Chris is correct. We are tracking expenses. Right now, there are grants from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed from DESE. To my knowledge, there aren't currently any municipal grants, although I believe the entire town is tracking any expenditures in case that there are funds available for municipalities. But thank you for asking. The Department of Ed has stepped up and been helpful in this. So
As you know, we will partner with you on whatever your needs are. And we certainly will help you along the way if we need to. So don't hesitate to ask us.
Thank you, Joyce. All right. Back to the school choice revenue and expense projections. If there are no further comments or questions, I don't think we need to vote on this. This is just purely informational. So thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
All right. We're going to move next to the, special town meeting update. Good news. At town meeting, the locker project was approved. That's not the whole story, though, is it? Annie and Chris, can you let us know what's next?
yeah, so it isn't the whole story. Good news. Just a reminder to the town, and thank you, Joyce, for reminding us of the date. So special town meeting agreed to have it placed on the ballot, but it still needs to pass on the ballot. That vote is December 12th from noon until 8 p.m. People can vote not only on the school department items, but on everything that'll be on the ballot that day. So for the school department, we are requesting that the town raise appropriate borrowed transfer from available funds or otherwise provide $1,069,531 for locker room renovations. Linda Sanderson did Linda did a great job of letting us know for the average home price, the average value of a home at $418 or roughly $419,000. If the town borrows the funds for the locker room over a 5-year period, the first year cost for a homeowner would be a total of $96.32. And if they borrowed the money over 10 years, the first year cost to the homeowner would be $59.05. And we are asking for this money to renovate the locker rooms in order to improve accessibility, The restrooms are small, they're inaccessible. And we don't have a good line of sight in any of the locker rooms. We don't have adequate ventilation in the locker rooms. So as many people have said who graduated from Hopkins many years ago, these locker rooms have not been updated for a long, long time. So we are hoping that the town understands the need for this and that people show up to vote.
Yeah, this is a project that's been in the works. We've talked about it for a very long time. It's been a part of our 10-year capital budget, and we wanted to really hold fast to our timeline. And so we're so pleased that at town meeting floor, this was approved. But what's going to be really important to spread the word about is getting folks to go out to what I assume is the senior center
Yes.
from 12 to 8 on December 12th to actually vote yes, because if we get an insufficient number of votes, this will not go, and it'll just come back again the following year for reconsideration. But we'd really like to move forward on this. I do have a question, and that is, I know I'll be traveling that week. Can one get mail-in or early voting ballots if they're traveling?
I think you could go to the town clerk, Jessica Spankenable, and get a absentee ballot. Yes.
Okay, great. So that's helpful, I think, for a lot of people who might not be able to get there during the day. So consider viewers at home getting an absentee ballot like I will be. And thank you for the support. Joyce, did you have a comment on this?
I just did. I was going to say the senior center, but again, it was on my agenda when I was on school committee eons ago. So I'm glad to see that this has moved forward. So I'm going to put in a plug because that $96 over a 10-year period is broken into 4 quarters. So it's not going to be $96 every quarter that you're going to see on your tax dollar either. So it will be divided over the 4 quarters that you pay your taxes. So it's not a lump sum every single time that you pay your taxes. So just to let people know that, because they get concerned, and I'm sure because we did a very minimal increase in our taxes when we set the tax rate the other night for $11.39. And we are holding true to our lowest tax rate in the state of Massachusetts, to tell you the truth. So, but we have many good businesses and things that support our tax dollar. And so we're very lucky in that aspect. And if I may just put in a plug that there's only 2 items on the agenda for the overrides, and that's the lockers and the fire truck that is needed with a longer hook and ladder on that, since our buildings in town have become more than 3 to 4 stories tall, so that we do need a longer one of those. So, and that won't take place until it's actually bought. But what it does do is it ties in the amount that we can pay for it. But again, you won't see it until 2028. Until the actual truck comes into town. So, if we can get the locker rooms done, and then probably half of that will be off of the budget, so that we can go forward with the truck itself. So it kind of all plays into the factor of how our finance team does work things and make things workable. So please, everybody, get out and vote on December 12th. Muchly appreciated if you do.
Thank you, Joyce. Appreciate that. Okay, great. And we are going to keep moving. The next item on the agenda is the item K, Superintendent Report. Annie.
It's linked into the agenda. I will not take you through every item. I do want to call out just a couple of wonderful bits of news. Hadley Elementary School, definitely the first time in the 10 years that I've been superintendent. And I don't know that it has ever happened, but U.S. News and World Report published its 2024 Best Elementary Schools. Hadley Elementary placed among the top 40% of elementary schools in Massachusetts, making it a U.S. News best elementary school. So congratulations to the Hadley Elementary faculty, staff, students, and to Principal Dowd. We talked a bit tonight about the deep energy retrofit update. I strongly encourage people to take a look at the slide presentation that is linked into the superintendent's report. This is a presentation that Chris and I did with somebody from Eversource, and also with Sarah Ross from K-12 Undaunted. And you'll see in there, one thing that's great to look at is there a slide in there that explains how the options and incentives stack up for the direction that the school committee is recommending right now, which is ground source heat pumps as a means for our HVAC system. And while the estimated gross install costs are the most expensive of any option, after all of the incentives, the total net install cost drops to $863,000, which is less than what the school committee initially anticipated when Colliers put together the capital plan, the 10-year capital plan. So again, I strongly encourage people to take a look at that slide presentation, and also the timeline for our project, which is linked in there. And this timeline is just about putting together our initial request for qualifications and RFQ to get the engineering design work done, and then the timeline to get the TA, which is the step that comes after the engineering design. And then we're looking to really make sure that we invest a lot of time communicating with the community, talking with people about what is being proposed and why we believe it is in not just the best interest of the town in terms of reliance on energy sources that are highly sensitive to market volatility, like fossil fuels, but also that it makes a tremendous amount of financial sense for the town. I have some students that we certainly want to celebrate. Haven Jones, our Project 351 ambassador at Hopkins Academy. Congratulations, Haven. I also would encourage people to take a look at some of the links of our first graders and their artwork. They were charged with helping turkeys disguise themselves this Thanksgiving, so for their own well-being. And the students went to all kinds of creative links that are just hysterical on the artwork they created for turkeys so that turkeys could disguise themselves. One little turkey is hiding in a John Deere tractor. One is dressed up like a snowman. They did quite a nice job. Thank you, Mrs. C, for sharing those with me. A number of other bits of information from community events. We talked about the supplemental shelter, and I've also shared with you some parent and community feedback. I will just point out to the school committee, I talked with school council. You don't have to vote every single year for Hartsbrook. The legal counsel said, as long as I review all of their documentation and there are no significant changes, it doesn't require a vote. But I did provide that information for the school committee and the public, that I have completed that review and they have submitted everything they're required to submit. And that's everything I have for that report.
Great, Annie, thank you very much. I want to underscore the comment you made about the deep energy retrofit. What's amazing about this, the geothermal option, with the federal incentives and the Eversource incentives, will come out to be a little bit closer to 900,000 versus the 1.8 million that we would have paid to replace the boilers.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to go the traditional route, the route that school committee approved, it's on the 10-year capital plan, it's what the finance team has, the town finance committee has in hand, that would be 1.8. But with these incentives, yes, there's an upfront cost, but with the incentives, it comes down to 900,000. It's such a no-brainer. No other school in Massachusetts has done it yet. I personally would like Hadley to be the first. I've made that known. of course, it's only a matter of time that other schools are going to do it. But it's an incredible incentive for geothermal. So yes, check out that slide presentation and share this with colleagues around town. We're going to need to sort of get the word out about this project, and we'll look to any people who have ideas like Joyce. Would love your thoughts on, you know, how to approach this, given that it is a town purchase. We can vote and, you know, present and get the designs, but really it's the town who would authorize the borrowing and would actually make the purchase. So I would welcome your thoughts on how to go about doing that.
I certainly would appreciate it, the materials being sent to Carolyn. So, and I will speak with Carolyn tomorrow just to make sure that she sees that these materials are coming her way and what we can do with our other buildings also, instead of trying to put one on the senior center or on the library. And if it's freestanding, it would certainly make more sense than trying to put something on a roof for sure. So to me, that makes more sense. So yes, I certainly would support that in any which way. I thought it was a great opportunity for us.
Thank you, Joyce. All right, excellent. Any other thoughts or questions for Annie on the superintendent report? Okay, seeing none, we will move to the next item of the agenda, which is the business manager report. Hi, Chris.
Okay, hi. So I have 3 items on the report tonight. The first is the expense report that you see every month, and I typically say the same thing, which is why I just kind of put in the notes this time that there's really not a lot to discuss other than the grants in the state this year are a little bit slow in getting approved. The state did some new a new grant website where all the districts go in to apply for the grants and draw down the funds. And I think there's been a learning curve for the districts as well as for the grant administrators at DESE. And so the process is a little bit slow this year. It's certainly behind where we've been in past years in terms of approvals. So that is why you might see some of these accounts that we're just parking the expenses right now in the expense accounts in the budget rather than charging them to the grants, because you can't officially charge something to a grant until it's been approved. So so we're kind of holding off on that. But you know, again, I know I've said this a million times and I'll say it again tonight. You know, there's nothing on here that causes me concern or anything, you know, where I said, whoa, we are way out of line for this. We're right in target with where we thought we'd be at this point in time. I don't know if anyone has any questions on the expense report.
No questions for me. No, I think we're good. I noticed that we have a list of dispositions and we will need to approve the disposition of this surplus material and equipment. Is that a vote that we need to take, Annie? Okay, terrific. Are you sure that we don't want to hold on to the Cake Boss Season 2 DVD? I see an unusually large number of Food Network cooking related DVD videos here. Yeah, there's some interesting collection items here.
Yeah, it's quite an assortment of goodies that we have. What I'm really trying to do is to clear out. We've accumulated quite a collection, shall we say, of unusable items. You know, I mean, I guess the cooking DVDs aren't necessarily unusable; they're just being unused. But there are a lot of things here that are broken and that people have just held on to, and we're looking to just clean them out at this point in time. So, you know, we can always do something for the DVDs, like donate them to the library if, you know, if they
want them.
like them, certainly.
I love that idea. Thank you. All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the disposition of the outdated, unusable assets?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great, thank you. Okay, so we have gone through most of the action items. We are back down to school committee updates and general announcements. Tara's already given the playground and CES report. On the finance side, I have nothing to report. No board meetings or finance meetings have taken place. On capital and negotiation, Christine is not here. We'll hear from her next month, unless Annie, there's something that you want to give us a heads up about. Okay. And on the policy side, Ethan, is there anything else we need to know beyond the allergy policy we just approved?
No, we were unable to meet today with Chris traveling, so nothing updated as of now. Some things coming for you next month, though.
Okay, terrific. All right. Well, with that, I think we are going to make our target of 7 p.m. Joyce, yes.
One thing, on the select board meeting of December 6th, we do have a joint meeting with Finance Committee. So I would, if you would like to join us, if you have anything that you would like to add to us, certainly we would appreciate that. We haven't had one with the Finance Committee for a while, and I'd like to extend that opportunity to the school committee to join us also if they would like to.
Thank you. I think that's a
your
great
finance
opportunity.
committee. Humira, that's your finance committee.
This will be a first for me.
We haven't done that for so long, but I mean, and everybody was saying we need to get together. And I said, well, then I'm thinking tonight, well, we haven't had you join us either. So please, if someone could join us from the school, that would be great.
We'd love to. I will definitely make a point to be there. I don't believe I'm traveling that week, so that works out great. And
try to send you an email after I see the agenda so that you'll know what time.
That sounds great.
It will be. You could join us on Zoom, or you can join us in person. Either way.
Excellent. Thank you, Annie. Let's plan to put our heads together. I'm sure we won't be on the agenda necessarily, but it would be good for us to have all our finance related
presence.
Yeah, exactly. Anything we can do to share word about some of the deep energy retrofit stuff that we're working on would be valuable. So let us know if that opportunity presents itself.
Yes, and I would bring that up to Carolyn also at that point too. I did have two other items for you, because there is going to be I don't know if it was on anybody's school committee's agenda about the lighting ceremony on the Saturday after. Is that on somebody's agenda?
All right, it was in my report and I didn't say it out loud. So please do, Joyce. Thank you. It's a beautiful thing.
The Saturday after Thanksgiving, there will be the lighting of the tree in front of the Hopkins Academy there by the Hadley.
It's 7 o'clock.
Yes, it's 5 o'clock. Did I say 7?
5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock. No. It's 5 o'clock.
It's 5 o'clock. There'll be brownies and Girl Scouts, and there'll be refreshments, and the fire truck will be there. So they actually, Judy Peelis had actually reached out to me and offered the invitation to the select board and any school committee members that would like to be there and participate and do some caroling, and keep our fingers crossed we won't have any snow this year. So that would be nice. And we also do have the lighting of the tree by the Boisverts up in North Hadley on the pond. That'll be on Sunday at 5:30. So just a couple of community things that, good time of year to just people join together and have a good time.
That sounds lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that. I will do my best to try to be there. I have not made it to one yet, so this might be the year.
Neither have I. I'm with you.
Let's do it, Joyce.
I'll be there. I'll try.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
5 o'clock.
Great. All right. Any other announcements from anyone?
Get out and vote.
Get out the vote. That's right. Locker rooms, December 12th, 12 to 8 p.m. At the Senior Center. Final word.
Yes.
All right. Great. Thank you, everyone. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.